Welcome back to Let's Build a Willys Jeep. Today we are gonna work on the clutch assembly right here, which will attach to the flywheel. And I'll show you guys all the different components you need to properly attach the clutch and what torque settings it has to be set to. And then hopefully this engine can be installed back into the tub, but that might be a while from now. Stay tuned for more videos when we get to that stage. We're gonna go over the 4 components required to install the clutch assembly. There is the clutch pressure plate, the clutch friction plate, a special tool to line up the clutch friction plate and the clutch pressure plate, and that will be placed in this hole right here to install the 6 bolts that will hold the clutch assembly on, and the 6 bolts are right here, and they have 6 lock washers as well. The first step is to wipe down all the metal surfaces with acetone to get all the residue off. It's now time to repeat the same step and wipe down the flywheel with some acetone. Now with all the metal surfaces clean, it is now time to install the clutch friction plate and the clutch pressure plate into these 6 holes right here. The flywheel only can be positioned one way, so on one side it says flywheel side, so you put the side that has the words facing towards the flywheel, like that, and then the clutch pressure plate will go on top of this and put pressure on the friction plate against the flywheel. So with both the clutch pressure plate and the clutch friction plate with the words facing towards the flywheel, that means you have to put the words towards you guys, like that. And now you flip it over and we push it against the flywheel, but then we have to use this special tool right here that goes into the clutch friction plate with these little grooves, and then that pushes into that hole in the center of the flywheel, and you just push it on. Kind of line it up as best you can. And now with those 6 bolts, you put them into the 6 holes. So with the 6 bolts, put them in the 6 different holes. I would just start in one corner and get the bolt started, and then find another hole, probably opposite from that last bolt, so it kind of holds and stays on. Now finish it off with the rest of the 4 bolts. Just go around the outside here, but don't go too tight because you have to line all the bolts up. Before we tighten these 6 bolts down, we want to make sure the clutch friction plate is fairly centered. So just kind of use your fingers and go on the outside edge here and just make sure that it's even. It looks pretty good now. As you can see it a little bit closer here. The gap around the edge between the friction plate and the pressure plate is pretty even. Tighten these bolts down in a star-like pattern. So if they start in this corner at the very top, you want to tighten this one, and then the bolt down here at the bottom, and then the bolt across from this one, and that'll put even pressure on the clutch pressure plate as we tighten this on and put pressure against the friction plate. So we'll just start in this front corner right here, and then go the opposite. And now go this one right here. And now repeat the same step with the last 3, and then that'll put even pressure. Now with all the bolts tightened down, and they have really the same amount of pressure on all 6 bolts. We are now going to torque the bolts as per the manual specs between 12 and 17 foot-pounds. So we're going to set it to 15 foot-pounds to be in the center, to be in the safe side. With the torque wrench set to 15 foot-pounds, we're going to just start torquing all these bolts in the same process. We're going to start in a star pattern, go from across each other, and then finish it off with the last 3. So once you hear the click in the torque wrench, it is now set to 15 foot-pounds. Like that, and now we just finish the rest off. Now with all the bolts torqued to 15 foot-pounds, the clutch assembly is now fully installed. This special tool can now be removed from the clutch assembly. Voila! And now the clutch assembly is now fully complete and torqued to specs. Thanks for watching Let's Build a Willys Jeep, and make sure to subscribe.